Hello.
Good afternoon. It is, what day is it? Tuesday, the 16th of July, and we're both carrying backpacks. We're just waiting for our taxi to arrive, heading off to the airport for a flight to Berlin. And in Berlin, we're going to meet up with
Wolfgang and Marlene
Wolfgang
on
and
on
Marlene.
their boat Old Gilly, and the last time we saw them was in the Netherlands, almost about a year ago, wasn't it?
I think it might have been 2 years ago.
No,
but
it was a year ago.
Was it a year ago?
It was last summer.
Okay, so there we go.
I'm sure it was last summer.
So this is the very start, and clearly,
Yeah, we'll report along the way our travels on the boat. We're cruising all around Berlin, and yeah, that's it. So we're excited. Off we go.
Can't wait.
Having spent the first night in a hotel at the airport, we caught several trains into Friedrichstrasse station, which you can see in front of us, and found Wolfgang and Marlene moored up on the River Spree. Our first day's cruising would see us explore the city centre, and we'd moor up at Charlottenburg, having negotiated part of the River Spree and the Landwehr Canal. We set off and headed down the Spree towards the government section of the city, and you can see the Reichstag dome in the centre of this image. On the stern of Old Gilly you will see the German national flag, but proudly displayed at the bow is the Bremer Staatsflagge, or the state flag of Bremen, which is where Wolfgang and Marlene live. One of our gifts to them was this Somerset County flag, and they were gracious enough to fly it whilst we were on board. As we make our turn with the Reichstag on our left, two bridges will come into sight, both pedestrian. The lower bridge is for the use of the general public, and the higher bridge is the use for government officials and politicians, moving from one government building to the other. The modern building on the right is lovingly known as the washing machine. Berlin is an amazing mixture of the new and the old, and right next to the station and this amazing high-tech building is the Moltke Bridge. The bridge is named after Helmut von Moltke, who was Chief of Staff of the Prussian Army for 30 years, and his face can be seen above the arch. Wolfgang turns us around and we head back towards the city centre. We all know about some of the violence associated with Berlin's history, and these crosses in front of the Reichstag are here as a memorial to the many people who died trying to cross the Berlin Wall. Like the Moltke Bridge, the Weidendamme Bridge, which was built between 1895 and 1896, was one of the few to survive the war. On the night of the 1st of May 1945, a Tiger tank from the 11th SS Panzer Grenadier Division Nordland spearheaded an attempt to storm the bridge to allow hundreds of German soldiers and civilians to escape. At this point in our trip, the Spree splits in two, going on either side of what is known as Museum Island. The next building on Museum Island is the Humboldt Forum, known as Berlin's latest attraction. This modern facade has been sympathetically built on the side of a much older palace. As we emerge from under this bridge, ahead of us you can see Berlin's famous TV tower. The tower is in the old German Democratic Republic. It was built between 1965 and 1969 as both a functional broadcasting facility and a symbol of communist power. All of the enormous locks that we experience on this trip were either manned in situ or remotely controlled by a lockkeeper. All we had to do was tie up. Here we see the lock gates slowly closing. Look at the bubbling water on the right hand side. This is a deliberate jet designed to stop any debris getting behind the gate when it reopens.
It didn't take Rob long to take over control.
As we travel further east, we see the very bohemian art quarter of Berlin, part of the old GDR. Wolfgang was very trusting, even letting me take old Gilly through the narrow arches of the Schillingbrücke, or Shilling Bridge. Up ahead we see, for the first time, the Oberbaum Bridge. Baum is German for tree. However, it can also mean boom. When the crossing was first placed here, a wooden tree trunk with metal spikes was lowered into the river to prevent smuggling at night. It was one of two. There was another one further downstream. Hence, Upper Boom, or Oberbaum. The bridge, like many in Berlin, connects two areas that were formerly East and West Germany, and it has become a bit of a symbol for reunity. The bridge is a busy thoroughfare with two distinct levels, a road and pedestrian level, and above it a train line. The Gothic towers make it very popular with tourists and Berliners alike. Molecule Man is a series of aluminium sculptures designed by American artist Jonathan Borofsky that are installed at various locations around the world. Borofsky says that the holes in the 30-meter creations in Berlin represent the molecules of all human beings coming together to create our existence. Just after Molecule Man, we branch off, leaving the Spree, and enter the Landwehr Canal. The canal that runs parallel to the River Spree through Berlin was built between 1845 and 1850. The canal was built much later than most of those in the UK, when it was still commercially viable to create a route linking the upper part of the Spree in the east with the western part in Charlottenburg. Today it is mostly used by sport craft like ours or pleasure cruisers like the one you can see entering the lock.
You steer Old Gilly using this wheel, and you'd think it would have been easier, but I actually found it more difficult than using a tiller. It was fun to have a go though.
Admiral Brücke was built between 1880 and 1882. It is the oldest surviving wrought iron bridge over the Landwehr Canal and gets its name from Admiralstrasse, which is a street that crosses it. This impressive extension of the German Museum of Technology was inaugurated in 2003. On its roof sits a US Air Force Douglas C-47B. This type of aircraft was vital to the Berlin airlift in the late 1940s. The Bendler Block was formerly headquarters for the German Navy. However, it is most notable as being the headquarters of a resistance band of Wehrmacht officers who staged the plot to kill Hitler on the 20th of July 1944. The plot that was depicted in the movie Valkyrie, made in 2008 and starring Tom Cruise, failed, and von Strausenberg, played by Cruise, and his co-conspirators were arrested here and shot in the courtyard that night. The Berlin Unterschlüsse is the last lock we'll enter before rejoining the River Spree. Charlottenburg was an independent town until 1920, when it became incorporated into Greater Berlin. It's most famous for the Charlottenburg Palace, which we'll see later, and was always a bourgeoisie area of the city. The palace at Charlottenburg was built at the end of the 17th century, but was greatly expanded during the 18th century. It was originally commissioned by Sophie Charlotte, the wife of Frederick III, hence the name Charlottenburg. Napoleon himself took up residence here in 1804 following his defeat of the Prussians at Jena Auerstedt. Cruising over for the day, we asked Wolfgang and Marlene to take us to a classic German restaurant, and they certainly did that. The surroundings were fantastic, and I learnt for the first time just how generous German portions are. This is a pork schnitzel. Full and very tired, we returned to our mooring near the palace and end what had been a fantastic first day.